this is your first movement snack. Maybe you're just getting started with work. Maybe you're mid-work and you want to move a little bit and kind of refresh and recalibrate. Let's think head, neck, shoulders, mid-back, and even low back, right? So phase one is always going to be a bit of sensory input or motor control or eye work, always these root functions in these higher order systems. Let's start with the initial assessments to make sure that you're feeling in some way, shape, or form what we want you to feel. So maybe the neck's tight. Let's simply turn the head and neck. Some of these treatments, these initial assessments, are the treatments because we lack sometimes how, hey, I haven't turned my head and neck this way in 8 hours. And that's a very simple but very powerful move in lots of different ways, right? So not asking you to search for pain. This is your initial assessment. Yeah, you might feel tightness one side to the other. Do you feel any tightness one side to the other?
Like a difference of tightness?
Yeah, like maybe your range of motion is a little bit less, or maybe there's a little more
Yes.
like.
Yesterday's workout, it was more my right, but this time it's my left.
Okay, so let's try root function stuff already with vision. So turn your head to the left as far as you can without causing any real, pain or reaction. And then you're going to take your eyes. Right now they're in line with where your head is, but you're going to snap your eyes over your left shoulder and back to out ahead of your nose. And then over your left shoulder, so your eyes only are really snapping in a reflexive form over that left shoulder and back, and then over that left shoulder and back. And then you're going to hold those eyes over like you're really looking all the way over that left corner. You're going to take a breath in through your nose that fills your ribs, and you're going to see if your neck can turn any further toward that left side, which was tighter. Already we use some root function. Okay, go ahead, bring your head back to center and then relax for a moment. And then we'll retest quickly or reassess the neck, left and right. And that should have opened up the range of motion already. And that's applicable phase one with the vision. Vision is a root function phase one idea. But we can use it as such. It's what's so powerful. Is that priming you to get ready for shoulder stuff and head stuff and neck stuff? Yes, we can do some overcoming isometric. Is it opening up your range of motion for the moment? Yes. And then you explore that range of motion and we add maybe some isometrics there. So it works on lots of levels. Okay, let's go up and down with the cervical. So look up overhead. And right away, let's smash in phase one. So as you look up, I want you to use your eyes to go up and over your forehead even further. And then breathe in through your nose and take a little more. We already have a bit of phase two, decompression breathing. Good. And that ocular motor reflex, where your eyes go, your muscles respond. So as you look up and over with your eyes, you should go into a bit better neck extension. As you come down to flexion, or chin to the chest, you can look down past your chin or toward your chin, and you'll go into a deeper flexion. Phase one is very strong. I'm using the eyes here to create reflex to open your range of motion as we go. Again, this could be simply just a reset for your neck. You could use this as a neck reset, or you could use it as a phase one primer to get stronger and stronger and apply more and more. Okay. Let's keep going. Test the shoulders. Up overhead, in flexion, back and behind in extension, maybe up and out to the side like you're bringing your shoulder toward your ear. That's often a hot spot for people, especially if you've been working a lot. Yep, then we have a mid-back or thoracic and trunk rotation. Good. And let's also do just a little forward bend and a little back bend just to see where we're at. Again, initial assessments and then combining phase one, some root function sensory stuff in with your initial assessments. So let's do this. We're going to talk hands and overcoming isometrics for the next phases. So let's start there. Hands out. Slow controlled finger circles, just the thumbs. And I also want you to match this to last session. Is it any easier? Is it any harder? I want you to pay attention to the different stimulus ideas, which become a bit of accuracy. How hard or easy, how accurate is the movement, how coordinated is the movement or not coordinated is the movement. These are part of the assessments.
Without any movement of the other thumbs or fingers, right?
Exactly. Yep. So if you try to keep the rest of the fingers splayed, hands are always shoulders, or always necks, or always eyes, and even tongues talking. All of those things are always connected, especially at the back of the neck. So you could imagine if you're working for long periods of time on a device, on and off meetings, talking and staring a lot, focus on the eyes, all of those things are being stressed. Here's a nice phase one reset, all combining together. Move to the pointer finger. Let's change the stimulus on you a little bit. Let's make a figure eight. And right now, this phase one stuff, it's not so much about, it's about the intention. So I might ask you to make a figure eight with something that's like, hey, that's kind of impossible maybe, but it's just about the intention. Can you put all of that intention into making that finger joint without any other movements, that pointer finger joint at the joining of the hand? Can that make a figure eight? Can it do it smoothly? How clean's the movement? So already I used the same phase one and changed the stimulus, up the stimulus on you a little bit. Let's go to the middle finger in a figure eight. That's going to be a little bit harder. And then what's the rest of my body doing? Not even just my hand, my face, my jaw, all these things. Here you'd be surprised at how much the intention really matters. Good. Let's move to the next ring finger. Oh, this one I'm having trouble even getting my fingers to coordinate. One side's like kind of off on its own, doing its own thing. So I got to really be intentional here. Maybe I slow it down a little bit. Maybe I visualize how I want to move. So if I absolutely can't get it done, I'm actually going to be intentional and visualize how I want that movement to occur. And this lights up the same neurology as if I'm actually moving. It's no secret. Professional athletes have been using visualization for a very long time. Even in my judo years when I was young, that's like 20 something years ago, moved to the pinky. More than that, actually. When I would compete, my coach would say, you know, visualize how you want that to go. Watch that fight that you're going to probably fight that person next. Visualize it. So we're all the way to the pinky.
Do I leave my other fingers straight or relaxed? Does it matter?
Probably have to going to try to bring them straight. Because otherwise, pinky figure eight's really hard. Always with this, if you're watching and it's like impossible, you just can't do it, you just decrease the motion. So maybe just a circle instead of a figure eight. And or maybe I'm just doing flexion, extension, like up and down. So I can take away the movement depending on how much stimulus this is for you. I'm challenging you right off the bat. Luckily, these motor control, they're phase one of this movement snack, and they check a lot of boxes. Okay, good. Let's move to the shoulders itself. Let's apply some sensory input to a place that doesn't always get it, right? So I'm gonna grab my right hand to my left trap, and I'm gonna both tension the muscle, the trap, by squeezing the shoulder to the ear. So there's trap tension, right? And I'm also going to squeeze the trap like a sponge as I tension the shoulder to the ear. Then I'm going to use lat tension, almost like you were holding a heavy suitcase and you were trying to push it out into the side and away from you, and you'll find lat tension. And that's going to draw the shoulder down and away from the ear. Now we have some lat work. Then I'm going to squeeze up. So this is phase 1 and phase 2. There's sensory input. There's motor control. Are you moving your scapula? There's also muscle and tension activation. That's going to lead us into some foundation training. Really, this is phase 1 and phase 2. Good. A couple of times. I might call this a somatic stretch. So as you do this just a few more times, and be very specific with feeling more trap tension in shortness and then feeling more lat tension in width and length. This is giving you a barometer. So oftentimes when people's traps are tight, the brain has no, it's just there. You know, did you ever work all day and then you come home and you're like, man, why is my neck so tight? Why are my traps so tight?
Yeah.
We're giving you now a focused, intentional point to go, oh, there's my trap. That's what true tight trap tension feels like. And that's what the reciprocal feels like. So this can also be very powerful. Lots of stuff coming together. Good. Same thing on the other side.
And what are these called? These two moves?
This would be called a neck shoulder somatic stretch. Sensory input for the shoulder and the neck. Motor control for the shoulder and the neck. Let's call it somatic shoulder shrugs. This is phase 1. It can be a bit of phase 2, depending on how much tension you're using. It's priming us for sure for phase 2 and even phase 3.
Am I just doing it back and forth like this, like a couple seconds each one, or?
Yep, enough to make sure that you're intentional and that you feel it. Meaning, feel the trap squeezing the shoulder to the ear and a lot of tension. Sometimes I even tilt my neck in that direction. A little lateral tilt. And then feel the lat. And you can even tilt away.
So my fist is kind of pushing down and then my arm's going out a little. Is that what it?
Now your left fist is going to squeeze like a sponge.
No, I mean my right. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Right fist pushing down and away.
Okay, like that. And up.
Yeah. The fist is just to help you be intentional with the tension in those areas, right? So your hand makes a fist and that creates tension up that chain. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, it took me a while to understand the lats, and then when I got it, it can be a part of a lot of different moves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because now that's going to tell you, are you going surfing and your neck is always tight when you surf? Probably you're paddling like this with your neck and your traps, right? Like squeezing your shoulders to your ear. Talk about startle reflex, which is a threat reflex in the brain. If I was to like throw a punch at you, this is the reflex, flexion and adduction. The thing is, that can happen to us in a workday with, tense situations. So oftentimes this is why people's necks are tight, especially now we've tagged in some eye work, eyes, neck, shoulders, right? So it's giving you a barometer, how to measure that. And that's also lead us into a very strong phase 2. So as you've started to do, let's just quickly reassess. Head turning left and turning right, flexion and extension up and down. And then also notice your shoulders because phase 1 creates a lot of sensory input there. Good. Flexion, extension, rotation. Good. Okay, we're going to come to the wrists. Forward bend, back bend. And we're going to get really funky here. So right wrist goes out ahead. Elbow bends on the right side and sticks to the side. And we motor control at the wrist. So maybe I start by just going up and going down. And if you notice, this cognition of moving my wrist, not my hand. So yes, my hand is moving, but my intention is moving from my wrist and my hand is just following. So make a very light fist, or you could open maybe, but my wrist is actually driving the movement. I can go up and down depending on how hard that is for you. I can go left and right, but it's very, very different in the brain and in motor control for phase one than simply moving. So this is moving my hand and even elbow and arm in space. This is moving my wrist laterally.
Is this a strength thing where I'm pulling in my elbow against my stomach like this? Because it's a lot of energy. Is that right?
That's mostly the cognition, the motor control. That's mostly the brain power of just simply you trying to eliminate unwanted movements. I'm helping you by pulling that elbow in.
Mm. So I'm not supposed to pull in real hard as if it's reps.
No, you don't need a ton of tension here.
Okay.
And if you need to, just like we did the other day, you can palpate. So I can touch my right wrist and make sure that I'm moving up into that finger with the wrist. Then I can touch below and make sure I'm moving down. And kind of like a wave where the wrist is really the crest or beginning of that wave and the hand is just following, the fingers are following behind. I can palpate in, I can palpate out, I can hold. And it looks at first like you're moving your hand, but you're not. You're actually moving your wrist. I could even do circles here, up and out and down. Whoa, you can see on me, there's a tremble there as I try to figure that out. And that tremble means that my wrist is not as well mapped there. Makes sense. I broke it a long time ago and I probably didn't do a lot of these. No, I haven't done enough of these to remap it.
Why is my arm really tired?
Because it's a lot of brain power. Remember, phase one can be the most powerful stuff on lots of fronts. It can be the most powerful information. It can be some of the most powerful resets. Keeping in mind that strength, like pulling on a strap or doing push-ups or doing hangs for your shoulders, that's only a very small variable of our whole human body. It's a very small checked box. Try the other side. And as always, too, we're assessing, we're matching. Like does one side feel much easier to get the motion done? Start with the elbow in, up and down. The wrist is leading the way. That's flexion and extension of the wrist. Again, luckily, I know we're spending just a little more time here than we thought, but it's because it's so valuable. Think too in the way of work resets. Hands and wrists, especially wrists, are often high threat points. How many times do you hear like carpal tunnel and hand stuff and nerve reactions in the wrist? Sometimes and oftentimes just simply restoring motor control at the wrist can alleviate a lot of stuff. This is where phase one is so important. You're also getting a brain boost here. So it doesn't really matter what joint I'm focused on. The brain's got to actually fire up in a different way to make the task get done. And here's where we also have a bit, maybe a productivity boost. It's almost like psychedelic, right? How can parts of my brain that can be used more for a different reason light up other parts, and then it all kind of comes together. And maybe that helps me actually solve the same problem that I've been banging my head against the wall with. Go ahead. Nice.
And what's this called?
This is a wrist motor control. If you notice, and oftentimes I reference like a pro athlete, if I ask them to bench press or crawl on the ground as fast as they can like an animal, easy stuff. If with a pro athlete, I start to get into wrist motor control and finger motor control, it's usually where they're like beating sweat because it's hard, it's cognitive. And then we can usually sort out, that one wrist isn't moving quite as well as the other, or not as intentional as the other, not as smooth. And now we tell a story. Ah, that makes sense. My right shoulder kind of hurts sometimes, or my right neck is tighter than my left. Things like this, right? Really telling a story here. Through those motor control, phase one, just like the hands and fingers, oftentimes we yield a mobility result, an active mobility result after that. So just a quick retest. And just notice how and if and when and what and in what degree has any of that changed, especially at the hand and shoulders. Then we're going to move right into phase two. So phase two, a little bit of decompression breathing, tensegrity, and foundation training. This is a standing decompression with a thoracic rotation. So stand with the feet at hip width apart.
Hey, John, I need
Yes.
to use the restroom. Could you
Sure.
give just any finer points about what we're about to do?
Sure, absolutely.
I'll be right back.
So I'm going to use phase two foundation training in a few ways to dial up more tension, to dial up more connectivity. So already I had a very specific motor control that made you cognitively aware of different points of your body that maybe you didn't before and got you moving them in different ways. Now we're going to connect the dots. So can I use my hands and connect them to center body via my lats? Can I externally rotate my shoulders and connect that? Can I connect in some decompression breathing? This brings the entire system online. It takes what we've done in phase one and prepped for and really adds some tension and intention and strength and connectivity through the whole chain. Because ultimately, this is always how the body really has to work. So fascial chains connecting, right foot in a spiral to the left lat and even the left jaw inside of the left head, right foot across the chain, across the spiral to the right lat, right hand, and right jaw and face. You know, people get freaked out sometimes when it's like, I might look at a TMJ thing on the left side. I might look at your right ankle. But once you understand those fascial connections, it's not so crazy, right? And this is where foundation training really brings it all together. I also want to rev you up a little bit. So phase two, we've done a good amount of phase one work. There's always more we can do, but we smashed through it. Got the brain boost. Now let's turn it up a little bit. Let's turn up the breathing. Let's get the heart rate up and let's connect all those dots up the chain. So feet at hip width apart. Lift the toes, spread them out, really try to get the base of the big toe, pinky toe, and heel in there. You're basically just trying to get your toes to spread and turn your foot on, each foot on. Palms are out at the sides. And same thing you're doing with your feet, you're doing with your hands. So you're trying to spread your fingertips and you're actually trying to spread the knuckles apart as well. That adds a little more cognition to it. From here, feel the connection between your shoulders, which are externally rotating just a bit without crunching your back or your shoulder blades. We could add your little bit of somatic stretch here. So let's squeeze both shoulders toward the ears using the traps and then depress the shoulders down and wide using the lats. And then let's squeeze both shoulders to the ears. Now you have a somatic stretch from phase one into phase two, adding some strength. Let's do this. On the next squeeze up, breathe in through your nose into your ribs and create some ballooning effect into the ribs. Using now the traps and the shoulder lift to take a little more. And then keep that space like a filled balloon that is your rib cage and go really wide through the lats like you're reaching out a little wider. Good. Now, use the back of the shoulders to check in, reaching the hands out ahead. I don't care if they touch right now, but you're really spiraling the shoulder and back of the shoulder and lat to get the pinky higher. It's almost like a corkscrew. Pinky's going higher than the thumbs. And then let's check in. We're playing Simon Says here. There's a cognitive load here. Check back in on the feet. Are the toes spread? Are the feet working hard? Let's add a bit of internal rotation at the adductors in the hips. I can take a guess that if you've either been sitting or standing for long periods at your workstation, you've probably done it in a bit of external rotation. So we're literally unwinding your feet and hips in internal, unwinding your shoulders in external. Now, lift the base of the skull, lengthen the back neck. Let's close your eyes and force you through a phase 1 higher order operation to rely more on proprioception without the vision. That ups the ante, that ups the cognitive load. Now you have to feel your body instead of orienting yourself in space with your eyes. Feel the feet gripping the ground, feel the internal rotation. Keep externally rotating the shoulders, reach a little further out ahead like you're serving a platter toward me. Inhale, fill the ribs. Take a little more, take a little more. Exhale, wrap the torso, strong. If you want to force the air out through really tight pursed lip, little straw, exhale it out. Good. Keep fighting for that space. But now I want you to clap your hands together. You can open your eyes. And we're going to use our hips to trace, meaning I'm still anchored through the low body. I'm pulling inward with the feet. My toes and feet are working hard. My shoulders are wide and working hard. The lats are working hard. Eyes are up on a target point that would be higher than normal. And keep pulling that chin back, lengthening the back neck. Your right thumb is going to go into your left palm. And you're going to use your right hip under all that tension and a decompression breath. Breathe up and out under your armpits. And then your right hip's going to draw back like a bow and arrow. The hip started the movement. The upper body is going, the mid back, the thoracic, the shoulders, they're going to finish it. So keep the thumb on the right side in toward the chest in contact and see if you can unwind yourself here a bit bigger. Feet still grabbing the ground. Still an inward anchor. Eyes and head are going to look toward me. Hold that bow and arrow. I'm going to use an isometric hold here. So go ahead and trace. Hips do all the work at first. The upper body follows. Eyes on me, toward me. So head, yeah, good. Now, keep fighting. Pull the right elbow back a little further. Turn the left palm up and reach it out a little bit further. Inhale and fill your ribs. And as you turn your head to the right and then wrap your eyes over that right shoulder, see if you can rotate a little bit further through the upper body. Now I want you to try something. Keep your head looking toward that right shoulder, turning to the right shoulder, but take just your eyes and try to wrap and look over your left shoulder. Hard. Good. Now turn the head back straight and return the trace via the hip. Right hip pulling, good. Let down, shake it out for a second. Woo. There's a fascial unwinding that occurs as I use your hip to rotate your upper body. Then I rotate your head. Then I rotate your eyes separately. You can literally take, it's almost like an osteopathic manipulation that they might use. And this could be really strong, depending if you're really focused and you're using a lot of tension. Like this is a workout, right?
Yeah, the thing that came to me is as we do the other side, if you could really focus on the type A people that kind of do this, like if they're not feeling a workout, like I was tired, like I was fatigued. It's all in the different ways that each of the instructions is adding more stimulus. So if you could be like for example, you know, the inward pulling in, say like, yeah, you'll feel that. And like when you do the decompression breath, you know, wrap your stomach like a push-up, you know, or a sit-up, you know, or however you want to do it, but just emphasizing the strength part, because like I was like tired, but I've been coached on how to do this for 2 years now.
Listen to the cues as I go along. I try to keep coming back to the feet and back up, because chances are as I start doing all this stuff up top like a circus act, probably your feet have kind of relaxed. Maybe your anchor is kind of relaxed. So what I try to do is come back down and say, oh, forgot the feet. Let's lift the toes, spread them out. Okay, got that. Now let's tension up again. So I'm going to keep trying to do that. And then honestly, you're breathing. Like, look, if I just start to breathe, and here's like a little teaching moment that you could maybe skip if you're re-going over this workout, but it's important. If you're holding full tension through your whole body and you're tuning that tension up and up and up, and then you're breathing, your heart rate's going to increase. So if I go to the doc and he's going to test my blood pressure and my heart rate, if I sit still, but I do this, my blood pressure is going to go up, but in a good way, and my heart rate is going to go up. And I guarantee you, if doc takes that reading, there's going to be a bit of alarm, right? If he didn't know I was doing that breathing. This is a workout. It is exercise. Luckily, ultimately, through the isometrics and through the deeper breathing and the active tension breathing, you can actually bring your blood pressure down the same way good, consistent exercise works. Okay, end teaching moment. Back to it. So a little bit of phase 2, combining all the things. Feet are at hip width apart. We have a little bit internal rotation. Start lifting the toes and spread them out. First, put all your intention at finding a lot of tension in your feet. Then be cognitive. When you find a lot of tension, just simply spreading your toes and grabbing the ground a bit. It's like you're pushing yourself into the ground through the feet, and that lifts you up. If you're actively doing that and dialing it up, other things are going to happen up the chain. This is tensegrity. You're going to feel your inside thighs, outside thighs, maybe the glutes. We can use this in our lifting. Maybe I lack big toe stuff. Now I'm going to drive that big toe into the ground a little harder, the big toe base, and you're going to feel more inside thigh and glute. And then bigger, stronger pinky toe and bigger heel. And then almost try to suction cup the middle arch off the ground. So you're still spreading the foot and the toes, but you're really trying to suction cup the midfoot off the ground. And that's going to give you even more. Up the chain. Let's internally rotate a little harder. Squeeze towards center like you're gathering the ground. Up the chain. Eyes are up tall. Hands are going to go straight out ahead. And as you're rotating the shoulders, that's coming from the lats, but you're getting wider through your back. So I'm not compressing down in, and I'm not compressing back. As I'm using that external rotation, I'm actually pushing my shoulders wide, and that's a lot of tension there. For a moment, squeeze your fists. And feel how that helps add tension, because it's easy for most people to find tension through their hands. Hold all that. Now open your fingers. Oh, now you have a hand reset for the desk. In with your strength training. One more time. Squeeze slowly like a wave. And now resist the movement. Open. Most people don't act. You asked me a long while back, should I put rubber bands around here and try opening? Yeah, that could be effective, but we're doing it right here. So now, serve the platter a little further, pull the hips back a little bit deeper, check in on the feet, spreading the toes, check in on the hips and the internal rotation, adduction, check in on the shoulders getting wider, check in on the back of the neck getting longer. And before I add any more movement, let's feel some really strong breathing. Breathe really strongly in through your nose and expand your rib cage. Breathe really strongly out through a really tight pursed lip, like you're blowing up a balloon, and tighten your torso. Get longer. Fight for space, that both physically and with the breathing. Let's go again. No pause. Breathe in strong through your nose. Hard. Take more. Breathe in strong strong through your mouth. The breathing's hard. Let's do it one more time. Check in on the feet. Check in on the anchor. Check in on the lats. External rotation of the shoulder, internal rotation of the hip. Every piece of your body needs to work here. Breathe in deep through your nose. Expand your ribs laterally. Push out into that lat tension with the inhale. Lift up under the lats and collarbones with that inhale. Take more at the top. We get brain power when we exaggerate inhales in the ribs. Exhale long, tightening the torso. Hard, 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 hard. Good. Hands together. left thumb into the right palm. Use the tension and the entire line. So don't just draw back. We could do that easy. Use your foot and your left hip to pull slowly yourself back. I want you to imagine that you're resisting your own movements along the way. Whatever's pulling you back, you're also resisting it and pushing back against it. Good. Now, see if you can unwind. Head and eyes are on that right hand out ahead. No, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Just the head is on that right hand. Now pull back a bit deeper with a big expanding breath. See if that left elbow can pull back a little bit deeper. I'm literally unwinding you here. See if the right hand can reach a little further. We have a big shoulder mobility and strength exercise here. Now turn the head over that left shoulder, then wrap the eyes further in that left side around that direction. Take a decompression breath and see with the head and eye movement if you can go a little bit further in that upper body thoracic shoulder rotation. But then keep your head there and take just your eyes and bring them back towards your right hand, like you're looking over your right shoulder. So the head stays, but the eyes turn. Now we have this fascial torque or unwinding. Good. Bring the head back, take the feet and the hands and the hip, and use that whole line to pull yourself back. It's very Bruce Lee-ish or Tai Chi, no, Qigong-ish, or martial arts where they move really slow but high loads of tension. And this is harder than any other exercise that I know of, if you're paying attention, right? Let's move a little bit. Let's shake a little bit. Let's let out all that tension. It is hard at first to dial up a lot of tension without your outside force, but that's the whole point. It adds more cognitive load, right? If I just say, get down and try to do a push-up, there's a bit of an outside force that's, you're making tension, but then oftentimes people feel wonky in those positions. My shoulders, if you just leave your desk and I make you grind out push-ups, there's a chance that you might feel a little wonky. Not detrimental injury, but you might be like, I don't know, my shoulder, I don't know, my neck, maybe the load isn't spread. So through this phase 2, it's very strong and it is a workout, but you're also still priming.
What's an example intention snack or intention break that could use some of this in both in terms of just resetting and strength building?
So exactly how we just ran it. You stand up for a moment, you assess your neck in all directions, you assess your shoulders, flexion, extension, maybe up and out, assess your mid, back, and rotation, all of which are probably things, if you take note, are areas that get tight throughout the day. So maybe if you are sitting in a chair, you kind of twist and turn and arch your back over the chair to try to stretch. And through this phase, that phase 1, I'm attempting to show you that you can free all those things by using the formula, by using the ideas. And that's really important. Then move to a little quick motor control. Circles all through the fingers, just 3 each time, each direction. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then wrist, circles, figure 8s, up, down. Everybody's a little different. How complex the movement is, like let's write your name in cursive with your right wrist, lead. This is much more complex, right? The cognition's important. Then a little somatic stretch, the somatic shoulder stretch. Oh yeah, we also used a little bit of vision with our tests because already we stacked phase 1 with your assessment. We stacked vision with the actual assessment and it increased your range. Then straight into foundation training, standing decompression with a thoracic pull or a thoracic rotation. Yeah. Okay. Now let's give you a little more work. So grab your intention strap. We're going to use a little bit of grip strength
And is this phase 3?
Yep, this will be phase 3, a little good amount of strength work. And I'm actually going to set it to the tone of your foundation training, basically. So of phase 2. So keep it simple, keep it easy. Feet are going to come closer together, but almost the same stance as before, a little bit closer together. Hands are toward the end of the intention strap, so I have some space. We can also play with different grips here. So meaning you don't always have to just close and flexion the full fist. Maybe if you're dealing with some hand stuff, I might change the grip. Maybe I open like this and I grab my thumb and pointer finger as I try to open the rest of the fingers. That's going to completely change your hands and your wrists. Maybe I get the strap more like a gorilla grip where my palm is open and just the tops of my fingers are grabbing. And why? This is kind of, it's like phase 1 added in to phase 2 and phase 3. If you always are on a device and you're always in this position, then let's change it a little bit. That contraction adds load to the and stimulus. Now, turn the feet in just a little bit. Find the feet in the ground. Shoulders are in external rotation. And let's do a little shoulder work here. So an overcoming isometric, pull the hips back just a bit so that you avoid hyperextending the back. And you're slowly going to derive with the chin back and chest up, with a decompression breath. Fill the ribs. You're slowly going to derive tension, pulling up and out against that strap. Get really wide, but keep a slight subtle bend in the elbow. Now push your shoulders out wide. So fight the urge to go into this position. Keep fighting for space in the back of the body. Keep inhaling and pushing your shoulder blades apart. Keep stretching that. Let's call this the salvation isometric.
Elevation or flying squirrel?
Flying squirrel is better. Has a little less hot topic religion to it.
That'll be the secret name for it. It'll be the flying squirrel or salvation.
So more tension if it feels okay. Keep going. This is a long lever. It's hard. We don't operate at those long levers a lot. We do a lot of stuff in here. We're going to do a shoulder press from here, and that's a short lever. It's easy. Good. Can you feel your feet?
So my biceps are going, and my triceps are not, or the what are the things below my armpits?
Shoulder, lats. So let's do this.
Yeah. You tell me what's going because I'm feeling a lot in different places.
Let's do this. As you pull, let's add a cognitive load to make this workout even more phase 3 stronger. Can you be pulling from your biceps? And you don't even really have to move, you just have to think about it intentionally. Now, intentionally, can you pull from the shoulder cuff? Maybe the medial deltoid. And now intentionally, can you pull from your lats? And I know it might not just happen. That's the point, right? Ooh.
That's hard. It's all hard.
Now, this is also a hypertrophy idea, muscle growth idea. Long lever tends to produce hypertrophy. This is no secret. So as you go round 2, I actually want you to dial up tension. Remember, if you're watching this, as you dial up tension, be intentional. Meaning, if you start to feel your neck tighten where you don't want it, don't just drop everything. Adjust, just how I took you through that last round. Where do you want the tension? Sometimes if people have low back stuff, they're going to dial up tension and probably feel this all in their low back. And that's okay. Use the feet, use an inward anchor, use the breath, expand the ribs, and put the tension across the chain and where you want it. It's the biggest thing with this. It's strength training, absolutely. We have a large volume of lifting without actually lifting. Can you go harder there? Ooh. Nice. Good. Slowly come to a
Oh.
rest.
When I do all of them where I'm like, okay, inward anchor pointed in, feet, toes up and down, abs and keeping the space, and then like the biceps, and then the lats, and then the
Uh-huh.
shoulders, and it's like it gets really tight, not tight, but a lot of tension
Yeah.
quickly.
And now this has overall is going to produce more efficiency in the workout. You're teaching more of your body to work at any given time. And it's also going to be more effective in the workout. So if I want to like lose weight and tone, just imagine this anecdotally, you could skip this teaching session if you're looking back on this and you just want to keep moving, but think about this idea. So I want to tone my whole body. I want abs, I want chest, I want to also feel strong. If I just sit down and do a bicep curl, does that seem like a very efficient, effective way to sort of tone my whole body and burn calories and add strength? Not necessarily, right? But if I have my feet working and I have my legs working and then my hips and my breathing as I'm inhaling, filling the ribs, and then I'm pulling on this strap, I'm toning biceps and arms and shoulders and all this stuff. But I also have more efficacy through the whole thing, right? Good. Now, maybe, and so end, skip, you're back to it, you've done another round, good. I could do this in any position too. So let's do this. And we did this a little while back against your desk. You don't necessarily need the strap. Let's turn the feet facing forward instead of internal. Let's lift the toes, spread them out. Let's get a strong outward anchor. You're going to take your heels and you're going to push them away from each other. Make sure that whole foot's still in the ground. We're going to hinge the hips back, lifting the base of the skull. Strong feet, strong outward anchor. Inhale, fill the ribs. And now I'm pushing back and away in shoulder extension.
We'll call this the ski jumper.
Yeah, ski jump. I like it. So overcoming isometric ski jump. We had overcoming isometric flying squirrel. Nice. Now, feel your wrists, your forearms, your triceps, the backs of your shoulders, maybe even a little more lat, but especially the kind of smaller stuff up top. Good. Again, this is where the formula is up to you. If you're going, if you're maybe dealing with some shoulder stuff, this could be powerful rehab, but you stay at a lower tension for a longer period. It's always the prescription, right? Makes sense. If you're dealing with a shoulder injury, I'm not going to have you jump up onto a pull-up bar and try to crank out as many pull-ups as you can. No, but this is the beauty. Lesser tension for a longer period of time and then build it a little bit, but stay at below 50% for a longer period, over a minute for sure. And you could provide an analgesic and a mobility effect. If you're, say, I want to train, like, okay, my shoulders feel great, my neck's feeling great from all the work. I want to train for paddling or for stronger pull-ups or something like this. Then I can add this pulse training to the same overcoming isometric. So I can add building tension really strongly and then build, and then release it. And then tension, build, and then release it. Yeah. Nice. Go ahead and rest there for a moment. Shake. Let out all the tension. I love for head, neck, and shoulders in between these strength exercises to let my shoulder blades and collarbones rise and fall with the rebound. Sometimes I even make a noise. Okay, let's get really freaky here now. And let's go for a really crazy range of motion. So I'm going to put one end of the strap. We can even loop it on the right foot. So loop under the right foot. And I'm going to then drop my right foot back like a lunge position. Then keeping the right elbow at 90 degrees and keeping the elbow in line with the shoulder. Right? So yeah, there it is. Now I'm going to choke down on that strap behind me. Oh, I just made this up, but it's really cool. So try to keep, like you're flexing your bicep, try to keep the elbow in line with the shoulder to your side. Try to keep 90 degrees in your elbow. There it is. And what that's going to do is pull you into external rotation. That's why the setup is kind of important here, because as you close this angle, you'll lose the external rotation. You're going to feel that. Yeah. If you need to. So again, this is a pretty crazy one because we're opening up external range. We're basically unwinding your shoulder. Phase 3 now still, and a little more focus. If you need to, you could hold the loose side of the strap with the left hand so that you could choke down further into external rotation. It's almost like you're going to pitch a baseball. Uh-huh.
You still want the at the 90-degree angle, or the one that
Oh
you
yeah.
just said goes down?
Nope, 90 degrees still. So even when you choke down on that strap, and watch me, it's just pulling the shoulder further and further and further into external rotation, just like one of our assessments that we might do. We assess external rotation. Now, slowly and carefully with a decompression breath, let's even anchor down below. So scissors towards center, feet are working hard, because why not? Inhale, fill the ribs. I want you to feel that with any decompression breathing inhale, you're probably going to feel a little less tension in the shoulder, a little more space in the shoulder.
Am I pushing my fist up, or?
No, you're actually using the strap to climb back into external rotation wherever you're comfortable. Then you're going to try to slowly pull tension like you're throwing the baseball, but it looks like a mechanical throw where the shoulder and elbow stay at 90 degrees of each other.
Oh God.
Uh-huh. Good. Now, if it feels okay, dial up a little more tension. So now we have joint capsular space. Now we have a very sketchy range that, hey, dad throws the ball to the kid or the dog, does that movement and ouch, shock, right? So we're literally mapping that big external rotation. This also helps us unwind. Now, here's the kicker. I also want you to try to then reverse the tension, try to slack the strap. Ooh, and that's a different contraction. Uh-huh. Good. Tension into the strap again, but then go ahead and relax and release, and we got to do the other side.
Oh, that's harder than I think it is.
And this also amalgamates the entire class today. So it's mapping for a more kind of like threatening area for most people's shoulders, but it's also unwinding. So think, most people, if you're at your workspace for most of the day, you're going to probably be hands forward in internal rotation most of the time. So it's no wonder why when you run outside and try to throw that ball, that your brain it's not structural stuff often, it's your brain being like, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't recognize that range of motion. Don't do that. So again, line it up, loop. You can put your left foot back and right foot forward. Yeah, and that way the angle is actually pulling you into external rotation. But then I want to eliminate compensation. So see how I'm trying to compensate with my back for sake of the external rotation of the shoulder. It's not wrong. It's just that now I want pure external rotation of the shoulder without that compensation. Remember, shoulders might be different here. Another way to do this would just be to anchor the strap itself. Maybe make a knot at one end and close it in the door. Yeah. Then start to pull against that strap like a mechanical throwing machine, 90 degrees in the elbow. Dial up tension if you want, keeping in mind though that you're probably not going to be able to go quite as hard in this position as you would in others. Then take a decompression breath. Remember, we're using our feet, we're using an anchor. I also want you to understand the efficacy of using the whole chain. If you're anchoring inward, if you're internally rotating your hips, if you're using your feet, and even maybe tensioning through the free hand, like with a fist, it's going to be a little bit easier to tension that left shoulder. Good. Now check this out, dude. Let's add the thoracic in because that's been a theme. So after you also slack the strap, so we have two different directions to go. This could be some of the strongest strength training that we might find. Yeah, let's also do this. Turn your head toward the left side and then wrap your eyes. And you can probably go further. We have that asymmetrical tonic neck reflex and ocular motor reflex. Phase 1, adding to phase 2 and phase 3. Take a decompression breath there. Inhale and fill the ribs. Nice. Let's become more, as you come to a rest, let's get a little more sports specific, the SAID principle. Specific adaptation for imposed demand. It's one of the most genius human body ideas that I've ever heard. It simply says that what you do, your body adapts to, right? So what you do, your body adapts to. If you don't do it, it tends to not adapt. So we're really broadening that movement menu. Say, I'm in a softball league and I want to be able to throw the ball a little bit better. Well, let's add in. We don't have to actually do this. You could if you wanted, but let's add in a little thoracic extension back through the mid-back with that external rotation. Now the whole thing is pulling and even my hips are trying to rotate through that. And here's a great example of how you have not just a gym in your hand right now, you have an infinite amount of spaces and ideas and variables and positions to work through, much more than a gym. Now I basically put you into a softball pitch or a ball throw, right? I worked with a guy the other day who is a big investor, a large company. They do projects all over the world in big ways. Lots of mountain stuff in like Vail. And he said, man, my shoulder hurts. I just want to play ultimate frisbee because I'm down here on vacation and that's what we do and it's fun for me. So we took a look at the frisbee toss like this, right? And then we programmed in the overcoming isometric. So I put it in the right foot because he throws with his left hand. We turn the palm up. I step the right foot back a little bit. And we created, maybe I even had to wrap it around my hip. Maybe I can even wrap it this way. The point is we can keep going and going and going. So now basically you have a frisbee throw. So use some tension. I wrapped it around my left leg from my right hip. And now I'm literally throwing the frisbee. For him, his shoulder really hurt. So this is the action, right? Like you're whipping the frisbee, but you're going to keep lesser tension. Now you have a bit of an internal rotation stretch. And the point is, it goes on and on and on and on. I had him test his frisbee throw and then did this one in particular with some phase 1 and phase 2 for sure, just quickly. And then his Frisbee throw was smoother with less pain. Said, okay, is that valuable to you? He said, absolutely, right?
And so
And
this is a great moment to say, this is where personalized coaching comes in. We have the workouts, we have the general ones. As we do the kind of assessments, John gives some personalized coaching, and you can kind of see what's going on. But when you come in with specific goals or specific injuries, John can take this intention strap and turn it into an infinite gym for like Frisbee throwing or surfing to get more spray. And that's where the personalized coaching is. And when we invite people to come work out with us for the first Friday of each month, that's where they can receive some of this personalized thing. Like, I want to do Frisbee. So I just wanted to throw that out, that this segment was like the perfect example of how personalized coaching takes this kind of workout and brings it to the next level, so that it more aligns with what your specific intention is, not just generally, not just for the year or day, but like in this moment, how you're feeling during warm up, after warm up, strength training, all that.
And not only that, but we used phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 in just one session to say, ouch, my shoulder hurts when I throw the Frisbee. He literally pretended to throw and went, like that. We used a little bit of vision work and sensory stuff first, much like what we did today. Then we went into a quick round of foundation training to tie it all together. And then we used the overcoming isometric first in a very strong position. So he had it wrapped around a post and he just pulled really strongly to get the lat. Then in the very specific Frisbee position at lesser tension, reassess. Feels pretty good. Okay, so let's strength train there then. So now I can throw that Frisbee and now I have strength training. So I can pull and create actual strength training for that specific movement, which is really cool. Because without a resistance band, and then specific ones, like is it long, is it short, is it closed chain, like a full loop, it's really hard to do in that position. And now you have all these different tools that you got to go to and all these different people that say, oh, actually, I'm more looking for this. Well, we have that whole thing by taking those root function higher order systems, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, smashing it all together into particular individual ideas. But the root of it all is still the same, right? Still the same. Let's do one more thing just to get your shoulders feeling good. You're going to take your intention strap. You're going to put it behind your back with your palms facing your butt, facing your backside, right at about the width of your hips. You're going to do a big hip hinge back and then a bit of a forward fold, and that's going to get your arms up overhead. If you have to widen your grip, that's okay. That's going to help you get your arms up and over the back of the head. So think of, watch again.
The strap goes behind your butt, you said. Okay, so that's how it...
tighten the grip a little bit, Walter, because that's too wide. So put your hands like this at your hips. And then go maybe 1 inch out. That's it. So just to here. Good. Now watch from the side. As I pull my hips back first, I start to lift my hands behind me. Then I go into my forward fold, and that helps me get my arms up and into bigger extension. Straight back and up behind you. There. Good. Now let your hands keep going up and over like they're heading in that direction toward the back of your head. Now slowly derive up tension, pulling the strap apart by using your shoulders. Now hold that tension. Take a big decompression breath. Fill your ribs. Use your feet and an inward anchor and your hips and your hamstrings while you hold that tension. Try to keep the hand position and arm position the same, but stand yourself up. So you're still reaching up and over the head. You're pulling yourself up, and that arm position is still going to be as high as you can. Then slack the strap and then relax. Drop the strap. It's just a different way to go into it. It's like kind of like a little bit of play. I'm not forcing you into a perfect spine position, forward fold. I've got your shoulders in weird positions. It's like open it all up, then drop the strap and just quickly test all your shoulder range. Test your flexion and extension and lateral, like shoulder to the ear and all that stuff. Test your head and neck. Test your thoracic mid-back rotations, like feet together, rotate your whole upper body and torso. We did a full workout, but I also want you to understand that, like, yes, it was a strength workout, but I also want you to understand that it absolutely could be, like, you should be feeling better coming out of this workout than you do when you come in. So it's important that still those initial phase 1, phase 2, and even phase 3 could be used to reset in between work, right? And even you're overcoming isometrics. Okay, I don't want a heavy workout. I have to go back to work. I have to be a bit presentable. Okay, fine. Still do the whole circuit. Don't go as much tension. Simple, right? Simple, simple.
Can you break down a few of the the intention snacks or the intention breaks? Like if you had like 2 minutes and you just kind of like want to do functional reset, maybe a little strength, and then
Sure.
maybe 5 to 10 with some reset and some strength, and then maybe even like what's the power thing? If you have like
So let's go back and look at the initial assessment, turn your head and neck and apply your vision in that direction. All right, so apply, like you're turning to the right, use your eyes to snap over the right shoulder and then hold them there. These are called eye isometrics. It's checking the box of phase 1, especially if you've been staring at a device. Even now I have been this whole time. Phase 1, and it increases the range of motion. Let's go to some motor control from the hands and the wrists, still phase 1. Let's go to somatic stretch, right? The squeeze, the trap squeeze, and lat pull. Go right into your foundation training, standing decompression with thoracic rotation. Remember, there has to be some tension in this case. Doesn't have to be max effort, but there has to be some. Good. Go into your flying squirrel, overcoming isometric. Boom. You have everything together, reset. And okay, you got a little extra time, maybe 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 sets like that. Depends on how much tension you're holding for how long, right? Then pull the strap, go into your skier, boom, and you have also a paddle exercise. It's a full arm, shoulder, back, and even neck workout. And all together, that could have been just about, I mean, there has to be a little bit of time to put full intention into it, right? Like if you just bend over and pull the strap, you're probably not putting the full intention into it. So I'd say if you did that all together, that little reset / strength training would probably be about, I don't know, 6 to 8 minutes, right? And that's a piece. It's already a workout and all, right? Okay, you have more time, maybe a little bit later, you work a bit more. Now you have a second period of time where you're still in your workspace, not quite home yet. You already did the first round. Now maybe you come up. We would do maybe the wrist motor control. Again, to your foundation training, standing decompression with a rotation. And then I would come into my external rotation overcoming isometric. So maybe I go here, drop that foot back, go into that external rotation, pull, 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 external rotation, and build some maps back there. Now you have a part 2. And your shoulders and your back and your neck and everything should be feeling pretty good after that and pretty worked. Yeah. Now you have part 2. So you really did a full, like if you want to put it in semantic terms, you really did a full upper body, shoulder. I mean, there's always like a lot of stuff we could do. I could teach for hours on end. We could add in chest presses and this and that. We're just building a Rolodex of different things to help people understand that you don't always have to do all of it to have an effective workout, right? I'd actually call this one that we did today more of a like a very strong strength training meets mobility, right? Because we're adding in all these weird levers, these very effective, it's strange, like long levers and external rotations, trying to find the spaces that you don't play in a lot, that you don't strength train in a lot, right? Because that's where we can make the biggest difference. Also is like, you know, if I work at my desk all day long like this, and then I'm on my phone in my free time, I've only been in internal rotation and adduction, basically, right? So internal rotation, adduction. Like this, I'm just exaggerating a little bit. Then what do? The only thing I know is I want to build my chest, so I do push-ups. And now I'm doing these chaturanga style push-ups, of which I'm in the same exact position that I've been in all day, right? Then expect my neck and my shoulders to move really well when I want them to. It doesn't make sense, right? It's not that push-ups are bad. We do them sometimes and often, you know, often. But now we have this further equation to open all of that up, right?
So what I love is for people that want like the strength, the efficiency, you really
Yeah.
listen to all of your, what do you call those instructions where you know, feet in, toes out, you know, that, and then breathing, that really pulls all together all the strength and power when
Yep.
you're doing the in a certain way.
Oh yeah.
And then for the people that have it already, they're looking for the performance in actual specific activities. That's where you know, the intention of the design of the workouts, where it's like you're usually like this, so we're going to do this,
Yeah,
right? And
exactly.
you're also spreading it out across the body. Like today was a full body workout, right? And oftentimes at the end, I'm like, oh, that wasn't hard, I'm not working out. And then the next morning I wake up and I kind of feel distributed, like, oh yeah, I did do a full body workout yesterday.
And what's crazy is typically, so even if I take a pro athlete that's like jacked and they're a pretty good mover, but you'd be surprised, a lot of athletes are not very good movers. Um, Often because either they're only, and it doesn't have to do with like, you know, there's always a lot of gym bros are always saying, you know, like it's not true that if you lift weights, you get slow. No, that's not necessarily true. But are you only lifting weights? And then what are those weight lifts that you're doing? So forget the weight itself, is just the movement pattern. If I'm only doing deadlifts and squats, I get really strong at doing deadlifts and squats. I'm not necessarily so strong at jumping over something in a long range. Maybe just neurologically. I just don't do it. It's the same idea. So we also try to add all of that in. Can I use different ranges of motion and to make sure? Again, if I only do bench presses and then push-ups, I'm only in this position always. It's not the push-up that's wrong or the weight amount of weight that's wrong. It's that I'm just simply, my brain isn't mapped for lots of different movement, right? And this is, I think, where also like, especially pro athletes, they practice their sport, they do their sport, and then they train, say, weight training, more sport specific. And now you're only doing, it's the same thing like sitting on your computer all day, right? It's the same thing, same idea. So can we also take some of those things and open them up and make sure you're a good mover and not just a good weightlifter? Make sure you're strong to weightlift if you want to weightlift, but not only weightlift or only surf or only throw the frisbee, right? So we even blend strength training for specific adaptations, but then also stuff out of your wheelhouse. Stuff like even sometimes way out of your wheelhouse. And when you understand the neurology, this makes a lot more sense, right? So when you understand that your brain has homuncular representations of your whole body and joints need to move to exchange hydrodynamics, to exchange fluid. And if those maps aren't there in one direction because all I've done is bench press and do push-ups in the same thing, my maps lessen, they gain, or sorry, they lose clarity in all the other directions. So I need to sometimes do that stuff. Just as simple as that, right?
Cool. Thanks,
Yeah,
Strada. And
nice
just for
work.
anyone who's going to plan to do this like every day, you know, living the intention of working out every day. One pro tip is you can watch it in 2x,
Uh-huh.
because when there's some like pauses between, you can just keep going, or you can say pause until you're done. That's a good way to make this workout fit more schedules, and kind of, you know, you get reminded of some of the coaching and the concepts, but it doesn't slow you down. Um, yeah, and we also try to say, okay, here's what you can do if you only have 10 minutes. And so you can kind of quick go back to that, see the list. And then if you go, wait a minute, how did I do that? You know, you can do a search or kind of read down where that name of the move is to get
Yeah,
the full explanation of it. That's kind of the idea of what
exactly.
we're doing. And lastly, we have a group that you can join, and you can ask questions, record yourself, post it to the group, ask questions. John's watching, responding to some of them. And you get a taste of what it's like to have a personalized coach.
All right, dude.
All right.
Good work. I'll talk to you soon.
Peace.
You.